I'll never forget the day I realized I'd been gardening blind for 20 years. There I was, staring at yet another disappointing tomato harvest, blaming everything from the weather to bad seed genetics, when the truth hit me. I'd been ignoring the most important part of my garden entirely. On the soil beneath my feet wasn't just dirt, it was a living, breathing ecosystem worth understanding, and the science behind it had quietly become a billion-dollar industry for good reason. What changed everything wasn't some expensive gadget or miracle fertilizer. It was finally understanding what was actually happening in those top 12 inches of my backyard. And honestly, once you see soil through the lens of modern soil science, you can't unsee it. Your whole approach to gardening shifts, and the results speak for themselves. You've probably heard about gut health and the human microbiome. Well, your soil has one too, and it's infinitely more complex. We're talking about billions of organisms in every handful of soil: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and countless others working in relationships so intricate that scientists are still mapping them out with supercomputers. Here's what blew my mind. Those massive agricultural companies spending billions on soil research aren't just studying nutrients. They're studying these microbial communities because they've discovered something revolutionary. Healthy soil biology does more for plant growth than any synthetic fertilizer ever could. When I learned this, I started looking at my garden completely differently. The fungi, especially mycorrhizal fungi, create these incredible networks that essentially extend your plant's root systems by hundreds of times. Imagine your tomato plant's roots, but now picture them connected to a vast underground highway of fungal threads delivering nutrients and water from areas the roots could never reach alone. That's not science fiction. That's happening right now in healthy soil, possibly even in your garden. This is where it gets really interesting, and it's something I wish I'd understood decades ago. Your plants are actually feeding the soil, and the soil is feeding them back in a beautiful exchange that runs on carbon. Through photosynthesis, your plants take carbon dioxide from the air and convert it into sugars. But here's the kicker. They pump up to 40% of those sugars down into the soil through their roots to feed the microorganisms. Why would plants give away nearly half their food? Because those microbes return the favor by breaking down organic matter and making nutrients available that plants can't access on their own. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, all those nutrients we obsess over in fertilizers are often already in your soil, but locked up in forms plants can't use. The microbes are the key that unlocks them. When I stopped thinking about feeding my plants and started thinking about feeding my soil, everything changed. Instead of reaching for the fertilizer bottle every time something looked a little yellow, I focused on building that microbial community. The difference in plant health was staggering, and my wallet certainly appreciated the reduced fertilizer bills. Soil scientists discovered something that, honestly, transformed modern farming. And it applies just as much to your backyard. Soil structure, how soil particles clump together, actually matters more than soil type in many cases. You can have clay soil that drains beautifully, or sandy soil that holds water well, all depending on structure. Here's a statistic that honestly changed how I garden. Healthy soil with good organic matter and structure can hold up to 20 times its weight in water. 20 times. Meanwhile, degraded soil might hold just a fraction of that. During our increasingly unpredictable weather patterns, that difference isn't just convenient, it's the difference between plants that thrive and plants that merely survive. Billion-dollar research into soil-water dynamics revealed that it's not just about holding water, but about making it available to plants when they need it. Those soil aggregates we discussed create what scientists call field capacity, the perfect balance where soil holds moisture but doesn't become waterlogged. The pore spaces allow excess water to drain, while the organic matter and microbial activity hold on to just the right amount. I tested this in my own garden by comparing two beds side by side. One I'd been building biologically for 2 years. The other was typical bare soil. During a week without rain in July, the biological bed needed watering once, while the conventional bed needed it daily. The plants in the biological bed also showed no stress, while the others wilted between waterings. That's real-world soil science paying dividends. The beautiful thing about all this research is that you don't need a laboratory or expensive equipment to benefit from it. The principles scale down perfectly to home gardens. Start by thinking of your soil as a living ecosystem you're stewarding rather than an inert medium you're manipulating. Feed your soil with diverse organic matter, compost, leaf mulch, cover crops if you're ambitious. Keep it covered whenever possible, because honestly, bare soil is damaged soil. Those microorganisms need protection from UV light, temperature extremes, and heavy rain. Minimize disturbance because every time you till or dig, you're destroying those fungal networks that took months to build. The results speak for themselves. My vegetable yields increased by about 60% over 3 years of focusing on soil biology. Disease pressure dropped dramatically, pest problems became manageable without chemicals, and here's the thing, this isn't magic and it's not just my garden. This is reproducible science that's been proven in laboratories and farm fields worth billions of dollars. The invisible world beneath your garden is more complex and more crucial than most of us ever imagined, but now you know what I know, and you can't unknow it. Every gardening decision you make from here on out will be informed by understanding that thriving ecosystem underground. Your backyard isn't too small to benefit from billion-dollar soil science. In fact, as home gardeners, we have advantages that commercial farmers don't. We can be patient, we can experiment, and we can focus on long-term soil health rather than short-term yields. If this article opened your eyes to the invisible game-changer happening beneath your feet, subscribe to Grow with Soil for more deep dives into the science that actually works in real gardens. Share this with a fellow gardener who's ready to stop gardening blind and start growing with understanding, because once you truly see your soil for what it is, there's no going back, and your garden will be better for it.